SUZY Starseed, we meet again.
Yes.
So earlier this year, we got the chance to connect, and you're a Taurus, born May 15th, 1980. You're the monkey Chinese zodiac. Same here. We had a bunch of synchronicities aligned, but you're the first Armenian that I met on the journey. And I just got to ask you first, have you met anybody in the Armenian community that's awake that you would say understands the simulation and spirituality and what's happening?
Yes, actually, the past few months, I've met a bunch. There's a community of people that are doing the early birds. It's like a coffee rave. So I started going to that, and I met a lot of starseeds there that are Armenian. They're wide awake, and they're just great people.
So for Armenia has popped up for me because I know this is where Christianity originated. There's a lot going on in Armenia, and then Noah's Ark supposedly landed there. What do you know about the lands in Armenia of consciousness or original souls? What do you know about it?
Well, from my understanding is after the flood, if you look at the Bible, humanity restarted in Armenia since Noah's Ark landed on Mount Ararat, which is in Armenia.
Do you resonate with that? Do you feel like you were one of those souls that originated?
I believe so. I think that, growing up, even in the States, the heritage has been one of those important pillars for me. I always identified with the land, and I always kept that in my heart.
Yeah. So let's just cut straight to the chase, because I know, this is kind of your origin story, and we'll talk about your awakening later. But getting into the nature of our reality, the simulation, and particularly QAnon. Now, I'm going to tell you what I appreciate about you is that we don't agree necessarily on everything, but we know we're going the same direction, and we respect each other's views, and we have a mutual respect and love for one another.
Exactly.
Because I know it's easy to get divided in this journey because you're like, we don't agree on one thing, so now, you're not awake.
Yeah.
So I'm saying that to say with QAnon. So, here's my personal take, or let me give you.
You go first.
Okay. So for me, the two biggest people that have on this journey that I've attracted were QAnon, and then also obviously the flat earthers or these other people in other groups, but particularly Q is into gematria and numerology and star seeds. And so I started in the beginning, I kind of just dabbled in it. So I was like, okay, they made these drops and this and that. But then I started to see that when I look at Donald Trump, I look at a very polarizing figure that's necessary in our reality. But a lot of QAnon says that he's the savior or the hero, and I'm gonna say why I don't agree that. Here's somebody who was best friends with a pedophile for years. It's not even like an arguable topic, but they all were doing it. It's not necessarily to single him out, but he became president. So if you knew that eventually your transgressions would come to light, what would be the best way to smoke out our society, or at least create some sort of diversion to make it seem like you were going to be the savior of humanity? So all those Q drops and stuff that were coming out were accurate, but it also felt controlled, like a psychological operation, and it all made Donald Trump look like the savior of humanity. That's where I have the problem. What is your take on Q? Because we talked about Nasara Jasara and these other things. What is your take on that, where it stands today? Because nobody's been arrested yet.
Yes. So for me, I got into the Q operation about a year ago. This was like a year into my awakening. And I always loved Donald Trump. I wanted him to run for president before he was president. So I always supported him. And then when the Q operation started coming out, I always heard QAnon, but I never really knew exactly what it was. So once I got deep into it and found out what it really is, Q is basically the highest clearance you can have in the U.S. military. So I believe that Q was created back 60 years ago. I think that JFK might have been the one who started it. And I believe this is the time that it had to come out, during the Great Awakening. And I think that even the reason why we're having the Great Awakening is in part thanks to Q, because from my understanding is they have taken off those controls, the grids that they're putting on us, you know, with CERN and everything, all these 5G towers, all the frequencies, distortions that they're doing on us. So I think that it's not only political. I think that had Hillary won, we wouldn't even be having this conversation, because it would have been a completely different world. We would be in chaos.
Mm-hmm.
Now I think it's more of a controlled chaos. This is the time where they're actually slowly showing us what would have happened.
Right.
So
yeah, and again, I know it's very detailed, and they say that a lot of these elites, that Q is basically designed to stop human trafficking and the cabal around the world.
mm-hmm.
But now when you see all these things coming out with the Epstein emails and how many times, again, Trump's name is in there, it seems like the same thing that he was supposed to be fighting, he actually is, and that he's covering for. No, when you talk about they were supposed to have arrests, and all these people, all these things were supposed to happen, and it hasn't happened yet.
All
That's
that
where a lot
stuff
of people
has
have this
already
issue.
happened. We just are in the disclosure portion of everything.
Mm-hmm.
So while we were locked down during COVID, I think is when all this transpired.
Mm-hmm.
So from my understanding is they've already had the tribunals. There has been the executions in Gitmo, which is one of the reasons that Trump keeps playing the YMCA song.
Right.
Do you know about that?
No, I know that they said in the Epstein files that in the emails that Jeffrey Epstein supposedly had a picture, or Putin had a picture of Trump blowing Bill Clinton. Whether that's true or not, but they were making jokes about the YMCA.
True, no,
they
the
were just
YMCA
saying,
is actually connected to Gitmo.
okay,
Gitmo used to be a YMCA.
right.
And then I guess they converted it into what it is now. So that's why he's trolling them by playing that song, because they all ended up at Gitmo, which used to be YMCA. So that's the correlation with that. And with that Trump blowing...
It wasn't even a necessary part of this
Yeah.
conversation, but it's just, there's so much that came out in the emails, and now you have a Harvard professor that just resigned. You have all these people that are resigning. Prince Andrew, everything's being removed, but yet he's putting Ghislaine Maxwell in a minimum security prison. Like, all these things that are playing out don't look favorable to us. I know they're necessary to highlight something, and I think Q ultimately was started with a good fundamental, like, these were some of the most intelligent people in our society are good at pattern recognition, and people in the Q can recognize patterns.
Recognition.
Okay.
It's actually the Project Looking Glass. They have already mapped out everything, and the end result is thanks to the Looking Glass.
Right.
Okay, they've already went through this many times to get the end result that is favorable for humanity. So in order for the operation to work, we had to have the Great Awakening.
Right.
You know, this is what's happening right now. It's not about politics. It's not about Trump or Epstein. We